We had an overcast.
An overcast.
An overcast.
And where was that? Was that over
right
the...
over Sherwood Peninsula.
Right over Sherwood.
It was clear up to over the ocean, but when we got over the Sherwood Peninsula, you had overcast like you have here.
Sure. So what did you guys do? Did you guys go above it or below it?
We went below it.
You went below it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Could you see the land?
Yes.
You could.
It was illuminated, full moon. Yeah, they would come up ahead of you and look like they were going to go way forward, but then when they got about like a point like that, then there was a quick curve, and you could hear the sonic snap
right.
when the bullet passed, you know. And we thought we were getting hits,
wow.
but most of them were just
wow.
the noise of the bullet that you heard going by you. I was involved in flying and timing and green light and parapacks, dropping them at the same time as the troopers jumped. Nighttime and searchlights and machine gun fire.
Yeah. And
we were instructed, of course, to drop before we got over the flooded areas.
Right.
And that's really what I remember. The next day we towed gliders in.
One at a time or two?
One, single tow.
Single tow. And what were you guys doing landing behind Omaha Beach? What were you bringing in or taking out?
We were carrying in supplies.
Supplies?
And
what kind of supplies?
Jeeps or artillery ammunition, or 155 millimeter howitzers, or just jerry cans of gasoline. So all those things.
Did you take anything home with you back to England? Did you, like, wounded?
Of course,
you
we
did?
evacuated
wounded
walking
GIs?
wounded and sometimes stretcher wounded.
Is that right?
And sometimes German prisoners. Yeah, I was in London during the V1 and V2 attacks.
Oh, you were?
Mm-hmm.
What do you recall of those V1s or V2s? Did you ever see one, or did you hear it?
The V1s were apparent, you know. You could see them, you could hear them, and we saw them and heard them in England, and also when we got to Liège, Belgium, on some of the resupply missions that we were one of those, the Liège Belgian airfield that we landed at was under attack by buzz bombs at that time. Wow. And I remember particularly Kelly happened to be in the left-hand seat, and he says, "Oh, look." I looked over, and there was, you can see below, one of these V1s, and just at that point it dived down into a house with a great big yellow flame, and then the house, you know, was blown apart. Okay. Like a dollhouse, you might say.
So you were almost...
You could feel the concussion of the explosion in the plane.
My God.
We were on the ground, there was a shout, buzz bomb, and I'll never forget, there was a flight nurse in full uniform, and when she heard that, it was rainy and muddy, but she dived, flattened out right on her on the pierced planking in the mud and water. So she was more aware of buzz bombs than any of us. I was there in London not only during the day, and you'd hear these tremendous explosions, and I went up and asked Bobby, you know, the police, right. London police, I said, what in the world is that terrible big explosion? He said, oh, well, they say it's the gas works blowing up, but I think that we're under some kind of an attack from Germany. And of course, then at a later date, it was announced by Churchill, I think, that they were under attack by the buzz bomb, or by the V2s.
V2 rockets.
Rocket bomb. On occasion, when we were flying over there, you could see the jet stream, the vertical jet stream of V2s going up, and it would be zigzag on account of like going through different stratas of air.
You're a kid.
Montalto di Castro, that's where we were stationed.
Was it Italy or?
Italy.
Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts from Rome? And this base was right on the coast.
Yes.
Could you see the water from your airfield?
Yes.
You did.
In fact, we would go down to the beach, and I put together while we were there a little sailboat. I have pictures of a sailboat. You remember that? And I put that together from a little boat that I happened to see when we were flying over the area, and then I got in a weapons carrier, went out, picked it up. It was shot full of holes, and I patched up the holes, covered it up, put a shelter half on it as a sail, and then we sailed it down there in the, they call it the Tyrrhenian Sea, off the west coast of Italy.
How interesting. Operation Dragoon, your job was to take the paratroopers and drop them in southern France for the second invasion of France, the southern invasion. Do you recall who you dropped, what paratroopers?
No.
I think your diary said the 551st.
And we were very apprehensive. They thought there was going to be a lot of loss. We were going to be under fire, but on that particular night mission, I just saw one stream of machine gun bullets at a great distance.
Okay.
And then on the daylight mission, when I talked about not having my camera operating properly, it was a wonderful sight to see it was a ringside situation where we could look right down on the port of Marseille or what was it, Cannes or Nice?
Probably Nice,
or Nice.
Right.
And see the port being under fire, bombardment of the Navy.
Yeah.
And it was.
And you saw the explosions in the water.
Okay. You could see the shelling of the port facility.
So after southern France, you went back to England, and you prepared for Market Garden.
Right.
And you did not drop any paratroopers there, but you pulled gliders over.
Single drop.
Single drop, and you dropped them near Eindhoven.
Mm-hmm. Got in closer and saw the warning smoke that enemy lines were so much further. And I was again in the right-hand seat, supposed as operations officer, supposed to be observing and not involved directly with flying. So I had my Zeiss binoculars and looked and saw the columns of smoke and saw the...
smoke from what?
From burning C-47s.
That were on the ground?
Yeah.
That had been shot down?
Right. And then we released, well, to begin with, I don't know how to describe this, but we flew very, very low over that Route 1 or whatever the number is, going up into Holland, and the rooftops of the buildings, the homes, were covered with children, bunch of children and people waving to us, and we were, low, 4, 5, 3, 4, maybe 100 feet, and could see them face to face and all, and wave to them.